Erev Shabbos, everyone. Shabbos Parshas Lecha. We completed the 7th of Mar Cheshvan, like the Rebbe says. That's an indication that we've mamish totally left the holiday season and went into the new year. And about the message of Lecha, there's a lot of memorim and sichos, talks and discourses of the Rebbe, starting even from the Alter Rebbe and Torah Or, and to put it in a single message, which is incredible, that like we learned today in the Fabrengen from 1981, Tavshim Mem Beis from the Rebbe and Parshas Lecha. First, we spoke about many years ago, the Gemara in Sanhedrin tells the story about Mar Zutra had a light over him. And we told the story, just to put it in short, that Rashi gives a few explanations. Why does it say Mar Zutra, which was the Rosh Galuta, the head of the Jewish people in Babylon in the time of the Talmud, why does it say he had a light over him? So Rashi says because he taught Torah like Moshe Rabbeinu, that he was so great, like Moshe's face lit up from Torah, so too the Mar Zutra had a light. And then the Rashi says a third explanation, and it's not so positive, and not so flattering, that Mar Zutra also struggled with certain things, and he had an obsession with another married woman, and he came into a situation where by overcoming the temptation and be able to rise above, Hashem blessed him with the light because he was able to conquer his Yetzer Hara, his evil inclination. He was able to grow from that story to be able to be strong and get past the temptation. So we have two extremes. One is he's teaching Torah like Moshe Rabbeinu, the highest level. At the same time, he has a light because he was able to deal with and navigate and overcome the greatest temptations. And we're talking about the same person, even though it's two explanations, but it's the same person. And that's really the message of Lecha. The Rebbe in the Maimorim, starting from the Alter Rebbe and Torah Or, says that Lecha seemingly has two messages. One is Avram. He's so great. He's Avram. He's Seichel Hanelim Mikol Rayan. He's an intellectual idea that's beyond even any kind of articulation. He's so great and so elevated that Hashem says, no, Avram, you have to go down. Lecha. Go down to the world, to Malchus. Go bring the message of God, and then Asher Areka, you're going to find out who you are. You want to really understand who you are is only when you communicate, when you influence, when you go out there, conquer the world. Don't stay in your isolated space. And at the same time, Lech Lecha means leave Terach's home. Terach's home is a home of idol worship, dealing with the most mundane struggles of a person who has to deal with idol worship. Lech Lecha says go away from that, from below up. And like the Rebbe says, and it's brought down in the Yom Yom, that when you're running away from Terach's house, you don't try to have conversations with yourself. You don't try to get intellectual. You don't try to get emotional. Start doing things. Do a mitzvah. Lech Lecha. Go start doing mitzvahs, and that will lift up from the bottom up everything. It reaches all the way from the heel, from almost the lifeless point of the person we elevate. So how do we have Lech Lecha meaning two separate ideas? Seemingly you could say Lech Lecha is talking to two different people. One person that's elevated, that we say the messages go down and influence. The other person who's struggling. But just like Mar Zutra, that the same Mar Zutra that had the light over him because he taught Torah is the same Mar Zutra that was struggling. That Lech Lecha is talking to all of us because we all have parts within ourselves that are very elevated. And there the message is go take that message, go teach it to someone else. And we have the struggles within ourselves. Some of them that are very shameful, some of them that are very basic, the Avodah Zarah, even the idol worship, something that's really mamish, the ABCs of Yiddishkeit that we're struggling with. And there's the same person, the message is Lech Lecha, you're moving constantly. And here we have an amazing chiddush. The Rebbe quotes the pasuk that says, V'hisalachti b'soichechem, that God goes with us in our journey back and forth. But God to go with us in our journey back and forth, that we understand. But how could we have such an extreme journey going from two different places? And that's the chiddush of Lech Lecha. And that's why Lech Lecha follows Parshas and Noach, like the Rebbe said. Because last week's Parsha we finished, and we find the elevation like we spoke. The Teva, the ark gets lifted up through the challenges. That we go into the ark and we lift up, and that's a story about ourselves. How we survive a flood. Comes after Noach, a person may think, it's over. I've mastered Bereshis, I mastered being the tzaddik. I mastered being the world before it was destroyed. I was able to come to tshuva, and all the powers of tshuva, like the flood, accomplished that God made a commitment to never destroy the world again. Because of the power of tshuva, that the fixing and the healing the world went through the flood. A person may think I'm complete. The Rebbe says, no, Lech Lecha. Keep on moving. How could you perfect? How could you go in a total another, not even to pivot, but to leap forward? Both in your avoda of going down and teaching and educating and engaging and bringing the light, and both in lifting up yourself within yourself. And we'll be zoicha to have the Lech Lecha like Hashem promised Avram in this week's Parsha, that God made a covenant for the Jewish people and He made a covenant for the land. That the land belongs to the Jewish people. This is Eretz Yisrael, the land of 10 nations, not just 7 nations. That we should have it both in the physical and the spiritual sense with the coming of Mashiach Tzidkenu b'meir v'meinu mamash. Good Shabbos.